Hi everyone, my name is Lucy and I want to share with you my bad trip, if you will, on psilocybin mushrooms, the McKinney strain, and cannabis. Without much further ado, let's get right into it. 3 weeks ago, I took 2 grams of McKinney, and 3 hours later, I took like a microdose of cannabis. Um, Before this specific trip, just a little background, I did have another trip that was a lot more intense 2 weeks before, which was about 4 to 5 grams, and it was a very good trip overall. But I didn't get exactly what I wanted from it, so I decided to do another trip 2 weeks later, after resetting a little bit and in having a little bit of integration. It was probably not the best idea, but it did happen, and I did learn a lot from it, and I want to share with you my experience in case you're going through it at the moment, or maybe you just want to know more information about this. Without much further ado, I did take that 2 grams at around 3 p.m. I thought it was gonna be really nice to see the sunset while being high, and it was probably gonna be a really nice experience if I did not take cannabis after. The experience itself was very nice. I laid in bed, I was relaxing, I felt a very nice body high. If you've ever done any sort of psychedelic, you know what I'm talking about. You get very relaxed, very peaceful, and it was a very nice high overall, but it wasn't exactly what I wanted. So for a little bit of context, I'm very interested in astral projection and things like that, and talking to higher dimensional entities. That's always what I try to achieve. Those are always my intentions. I'm a very curious person, so I really love new perspectives. I want to know what's out there more than what books or people here can tell you. Most people already have like basic information on how our earthly world works. And like the mystic, it's always a mystery. So that's what I always try to achieve for. I think I got a little lost here, but yeah, those are always my intentions. And it wasn't going that route. I tried to meditate, I tried to lay in bed, keep my blindfold on. And mind you, this is not my first trip, nor it was my second trip even. And overall, this wasn't going as expected. So about 3 hours in, I was getting kind of bored. It was 2 grams, mind you. It was a very low dose. I just wanted to try to relax and meditate and try to get something done. It didn't go as planned. So 3 hours in, and I thought I really wanted to play some VR, and I really like that Saber game on VR, and I wasn't being able to play because I was high. I was having a really kind of strong body high. I was very heavy overall, and I thought that I really wanted to move a bit, but I couldn't. So cannabis always helps me get things done, helps with executive dysfunction. So I thought that was a good idea at the time. It wasn't. You probably shouldn't mix substances if you don't know how you'll react to it. And plus, different strains mixed with psychedelics always have different effects. So this specific strain of cannabis does have some paranoia effects. I personally don't feel them a lot. I'm a very level-headed and happy person, so normally the paranoia doesn't get to me, but my partner does feel that paranoia effect more than I do. And I should have probably thought about that. I didn't. And I'm sorry, it's kind of funny now, but it wasn't very funny back then. I got very paranoid, first of all, during this trip after smoking a bit. So, mind you, I always vaporize my cannabis, and I always just microdose, so it wasn't like a big joint that I smoked. I wasn't completely high out of my mind. That's not the intention here. I just wanted to relax a bit and get rid of my body high so I could move around better. So the moment I smoked, everything kind of changed. Time kind of stopped, and I started seeing things like they were in a movie, like how you hold a camera and you film the world around you. That's how I was seeing, but in front of my eyes. it sounds weird because it's like a first person view, but it was like a third person view from a first person view. Very weird. It was very hyper realistic. If you've ever played VR, it was kind of like seeing that, but without like the peripheral being like black from the headset. The peripheral, I was kind of seeing a lot of visions, and whenever I looked down, I could see like my hand turning red and my fingers elongating, very alien-like. I could see things moving in my peripheral, even though there was nothing there, like black shadows, things like. It was very weird, and the shadows themselves weren't freaking me out, but the hand itself was a little bit. And in my front vision, there were no visions whatsoever. It was like seeing a very hyper realistic reality, even though nothing was really changing. And the moment I smoked, my perspective also changed. It was like every part of me that has ever existed, like past, future, present, whatever the hell, it was like they were all seeing this exact moment through my eyes. Like everything kind of blurred together. And it was very freaky. Like, let me just think about this. So it was very hard to move, and I had my TV playing some music, and it kind of all fit together. I had this cute lamp that I have in my living room that has some wave texture and can change colors. It was at this time orange, and I have this nostalgic music playing on my TV, and everything kind of meshed together and created this scenery where I felt like I was very old. In my head, I was thinking constantly like 70 years old in 70 years, like from now in 70 years. So it felt like I was watching this exact moment in my old body or in my old soul or something like that. And I could feel myself very old, looking around and being mesmerized and thinking, I can't believe I'm seeing this. Like, it was so surreal, like I had gone back in time. And if you've ever taken psychedelics, you know that you feel things very deeply. When you're sober, you can imagine an apple, you can imagine what it's like to be an apple or things like that. You can taste the apple. If you bite into it, you can kind of imagine what an apple tastes like. But when you're on psychedelics, you kind of feel everything. Like, you are the apple, you are seeing the apple, you are seeing yourself as the apple. You can feel what it's like to be an apple, you can feel what it's like to taste the apple. You can feel every timeline on the apple. And this was one of those moments where you could feel everything around you kind of meshed together like that. And I felt like I was really old, and looking back at my life like it was a memory. So from the moment I smoked to the moment I got sober, it was like seeing a very ancient memory. So imagine, like, right now I'm 26, and imagine you're 26 or whatever your age is, and you look back at your life, like your childhood, your teenage years, and it feels like it was forever ago. And you kind of remember one of those moments in your childhood, maybe just walking on a park, and it's very, very nostalgic, and it feels like it was so long ago, but it's only been like, let's say 26 years, like that's my age now. But imagine in another 20 years from now, or when you're 50 or 60, and you're looking back at your childhood years, like when you were really young, and it feels like it's the time period, it's even longer, so it's more dramatic or more drastic than looking back right now at your younger years, if that makes sense. But it was like I was in my 90s, if that makes sense, looking back at this exact moment, which was 70 years ago. So that's a long ass time. And at that moment it was so hard, because I felt like this was my last memory before I died. Like, this was my last happy memory before I passed away. So I was imagining myself dying at this point. And it maybe it doesn't sound too bad hearing this right now from your perspective, but it was really scary to me, because it definitely felt like I was dying at this point. And I was looking back. I tried to get up, and I sat on my partner's chair, and I was looking at my partner and my puppy. and I always say puppy, but he's 10 years old, but he's a very healthy dog. Okay, he doesn't have any health issues, and we spent all day together. Okay, so it's not like I haven't seen my dog in ages. No. So I was looking at my partner and my dog, and I was completely shocked. If I can't even describe the feeling because it was so strong, but I was completely shocked because I looked at my puppy and I thought, I haven't seen him, like I haven't seen him in ages, like he has been dead for God knows how long. And I was looking at him and thinking that I barely remembered him, even though we were just there. And there are alive in front of me. I remember thinking like I haven't seen him in ages, and it felt like he had been gone for so long, and I was so shocked. Like I was seeing a mere memory of the past of him when he was young, and they were playing together. My partner and my puppy were playing ball at that time, and I remember looking at my partner and thinking how young he looked, and it kind of indicated to me that he had also passed away quite some time ago. And I was looking at a very happy memory, very happy. It was really sad when I was looking at them. But yeah, it was supposedly a very bittersweet moment of me looking back at a memory of them alive. So mind you, I was feeling all of this, okay? I wasn't just imagining this. It was like it was actually happening at that moment, that I was just old in my ready to kick my boots and looking back at a memory of the ones I love. And I remember thinking that I was looking at that moment and just thinking that this was all just a grain in all of existence. Like, if you believe in reincarnation, if you believe that energy never really dies and it's just a cycle of birth and death kind of doesn't really happen actually, you just get recycled, let's say. And this was like just a grain of all existence. And mind you, I always have been depressed for most of my life. I am in a very happy place right now, and I have my own house right now. We are not struggling whatsoever. We don't have any. We're just in a very transitional phase. We have some life goals that we want to achieve, etc. And so basically, I'm not in a bad state, and I haven't been in a bad state in a long time. So yeah, if you believe in this cycle of reincarnation, you know that this is just like a little grain of all of your existence as a being. You know, you have lived a lot of lives before this one. You are going to live a lot of lives after them. But in this moment, I felt like everything was kind of happening at the same time. So all my past lives, my present lives, even like interdimensionally, you know, like every decision you make and every thought about making a decision has already happened in other dimensions. And kind of, this world we're in, it kind of has a lot of physics, and time is very linear here, but this is kind of all like a little trap or illusion, if you will, of how the universe actually works. So actually your past, present, and future is all happening at the same time, and all your decisions are actually happening at the same time. So even decisions you haven't made in this timeline are happening in other timelines, but they are happening right now as well. So what I'm trying to say is that I was feeling all of this happen at the same time, and I remember thinking, like, this little human suit is not meant to process this much information. That's why we're so limited. When we reincarnate, we don't remember anything. Like, everything it's kind of a blur, and you have to obtain every piece of information again to live this human life. And this was really scary because I was at some point I was starting to feel like my heart was aching a lot and my brain was literally frying. That's what I felt like. It wasn't happening, but that's what I felt like. It was just too much information, and I was very overwhelmed. And I tried to get up a lot of times and walk around the house, but I kept going back to this chair and looking at this, and the feeling wouldn't go away. And I remember when I was walking, thinking, how strange it was that I could move so easily, because it was like I felt like I couldn't do that because I was so old. It wasn't possible for me to just move around so freely. Another thought that popped into my head during this time was that while I was looking at my partner playing with our puppy, I remember thinking, like, me personally, I don't understand how I wanted to keep reincarnating, because to me, like, this earthly plane is actually just a prison for our souls. And I remember thinking that I didn't understand why I wanted to reincarnate, because, like I said before, had I have been very depressed most of my life, and I didn't really see a reason for being born or living this painful life and feeling all of these horrible and negative things. Like, the positive doesn't outweigh the negative, if you will. And I remember thinking, why did I choose to reincarnate? And I was looking at them playing, and I could feel all of my partner's love for living life. He's a very happy person, in terms of really loving to live, if you will. He just loves to experience life. He said he has said multiple times in the past that he would love to just live forever in a human suit if he could. Like, this is his main life goal, and in that moment, I could feel what it was like to actually love living, like, love being here on Earth. And just looking at this kind of gave me a new perspective on life. And I remember thinking that he kind of was the reason for me loving to be here, or to his vast love for life itself. It was the reason why I kept reincarnating, because I wanted to be in his every adventure. I wanted to experience every life with him. I don't know if that makes sense, but that was the whole point, because in previous trips, I always could feel that we have been together for more than one lifetime. We have been together since God knows how long. And we have lived a lot and in different life forms together, and experienced life in so many possible ways, because he wanted to keep reincarnating. So he personally loves living, even like the negative and bad things that we consider to be our daily struggles. He loves everything, and it kind of gave me a new perspective on life itself, just looking at him and looking at them playing together. I feel like I'm not explaining this or giving it the credit it deserves, like, this whole experience. But imagine that you personally don't like drawing, for example, but someone you really love loves to draw. And even though you don't personally love to draw, you kind of want to experience what they're experiencing, you know? So take it, they bought two canvas, and one is for you and one is for them. So they are painting, and you personally don't like to paint, but seeing how much they love to do it, you kind of enjoy that experience yourself, if that makes sense. I don't know if I'm explaining this correctly. I'm trying my best, mind you. This is all me just trying to list everything as best as I can. But his love for this human experience was basically contagious. It kind of made me realize how every boring and mundane thing is actually its own important and precious little moment, and it was very beautiful. It was kind of the piece of not knowing what life is all about and just experiencing the journey on its own. I feel like that's something a lot of psychonauts relate to and have kind of realized through a lot of journeys and a lot of trips, is just enjoying the journey. That's like a universal experience for a lot of psychonauts, and realizing this in their own terms, if that makes sense. And again, like I said, after all of this was happening, my brain actually starting to feel like it was frying, and my heart was starting to feel like it was burning up. And it wasn't like I felt like my heart was palpitating, and I felt like my heart beating faster than usual. And I personally have a lot of experience with this, because I do have POTS, and Um, if you have arrhythmia or POTS, you know what I'm talking about, or if you've experienced like attacks of anxiety, you probably know what I'm talking about the heart palpitations and feeling like your heart is going to pump out of your chest. It was nothing like that. It was more like a heartbreak. If you've ever experienced strong heartbreak, like you were cheated on by someone you really love, or if you've experienced grief, you probably know what it's like when your heart is really shattered, and that was what I was experiencing. But at the time I was really paranoid, and I thought that maybe I was going to die, this was it. And I remember thinking constantly like I wasn't ready, like I'm not ready, I'm not ready, I'm not ready for this. And I kept thinking that I didn't want to leave them behind. I kept thinking about them constantly. I can't leave them. What are they gonna do without me? They're probably gonna be so lost. I was really worried about their safety, even though I probably should be worried about dying itself. Like I think like dying is a concern of its own, but I wasn't really concerned about that specifically. I was really worried about them, and I was like, I'm not ready to leave them behind. This is not my time. And uh, with all of my strength, I got up and I went to my partner and I told him, I'm not feeling good. I really need your help. And he took one good look at me and he laid me down on the couch and took my temperature and took my heart rate. And everything was normal. My temperature was normal and my heart rate was actually lower than what it normally is. So when I get up, just the fact of getting up itself makes my heart rate go from like, let's say 60 to 90. That's just what's normal. Like even higher than that, it can go up to 100 or even more beats per minute. So my heart rate was actually 65 at that point. Even though I got up, I went to him and he sat me down on the couch to measure everything. My heart rate was really normal, and I normally don't have that. So it was kind of weird to me. My heart rate was a lot lower than usual, but it was in the normal range for healthy people. So at this point, I told him that I was really paranoid and I was freaking out, and he got uh, got a hold of me and got a hold of our pup and told us we're going for a walk. So we went outside, and I was still very paranoid, but I tried to ground myself. I tried to get my mind off of what I was feeling, and I tried to just release all this negative energy. I got grounded, and after we came home, I was still very paranoid. So I kept thinking that if I fell asleep, I might die. So I wanted to sit this until I was sober. So we just put on the TV on something funny or interesting to watch, and I kept trying to distract myself from all those thoughts and get out of my head a little bit. And he really helped through all of this experience. He was a really good rock for me, and just their presence alone, my puppy's presence and his presence, really helped ground me a lot and take me back to earth, because again I was freaking out. At around 3 a.m. I was actually sobering up at that point. So mind you, I was tripping for about 12 hours. Felt a lot better, so we went to sleep. After that trip itself, it was very hard to integrate. So the next few days were really miserable for me. When I was younger, I was really afraid of the dark, and this fear came back a lot stronger, and I barely could go to the bathroom at night by myself. I had to turn on every fucking light in the house to go to the bathroom by myself. So this, for some days, it was like that. But I gotta say that I consider myself to be a very strong, level-headed person. Like, all my life experience has shaped me to be as strong as I possibly could. And I did overcome all of this in about 1 week. So 1 week after the trip, I was already feeling a lot more normal. I still had like slight flashbacks from the trip itself. I did feel very traumatized. I felt like I was never going to feel normal again after that. I kept thinking really bad thoughts about death, about how life is so short. What did I learn from this experience? So, first of all, I want to say that just from a very baseline or from a very outside perspective, you might think that, oh, this experience was just to teach you to value your partner and your puppy, maybe value the people around you more. But actually, my day to day life is spent taking care of them. So I normally don't take very well care of myself. I probably should. I want to take care of myself a lot more, and I'm trying to work on that. But I do value them a lot. So all my life is in service of them, and my life goals are always to take care of others. So, and I'm really sorry if I'm repeating myself a lot. This is all done without a script. I'm just gonna cut some parts of the video, but I'm trying my best to be as concise and summarize this as much as possible. So when you live your life in service of others, it doesn't really make sense to think that this trip itself was to make me value something that I already put so much value in. So to me, their lives are more important than my life itself. So what I think the trip actually wanted to show me was my biggest fear, which was losing them, losing my puppy and my partner, what it's going to be like, and show me that if I don't change how I live, I'm gonna grow old, have them pass away, and have nothing else in my life, and nothing else to look forward to, and nothing else to be happy about. This is what I think and what I believe to be the lesson from this trip. And it's showing me how much attachment I have to them. So, like I said, my intention is to always astral project or to talk to higher dimensional entities. So when this trip happened, it definitely showed me that I need to value my own life a lot more and do things that I love and start the projects that I always wanted to look forward to and always wanted to do. So, for example, I always wanted to be better at public speaking. So this is my first long video and me exposing a very personal and intimate part of my life. And you're probably gonna watch this or on either TikTok or YouTube. So this is always something that I personally wanted to do, and I never actually had the guts to do it. So this is me just getting out of my shell and doing something I always wanted to do. I always have a lot more projects, so don't think this, if you're gonna subscribe or follow my account, that all of my videos are going to be just psychedelic. I have a lot more interests and a lot more different opinions on various topics. This is probably going to be just one of many different topics. I could go into detail about other experiences I've had, but I feel like my first videos being about psychedelics and this specific audience is more aligned to my lifestyle itself. So I have a lot more interests like politics and veganism, for example, and feminism. So if you are interested in any of that, this is something that I really love to talk about and I want to talk about more online. So yeah, and overall, I think that was the lesson of my trip. And at that time, when everything ended, I thought I'm never gonna have any more trips after that. This was it for me. But 3 weeks in, and I'm very looking forward to what else, what other lessons I need to learn and things I need to do to grow myself as a person, because life is growing and growth is fortunately very infinite. So you can always better yourself as a person. This is why we're here. It's to grow, to evolve. And I want to share all of this with you, if you will. And if you want to learn more, you can stick around and I would love to share more with you. So I don't know how to end this, but thank you for listening all the way through, and I'll see you in my next video.